To solar panel or to not solar panel? If that is your question, then I'm going to give you an answer to it from a real estate agent's point of view. So stick around. Hey everyone, my name is Danae Hewitt and I am your go-to DFW realtor here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So if you're thinking about putting solar panels on your house, I'm going to give you some real estate agent's perspective if you do or if you don't. So I'm not going to talk to you about it from an energy conservation point of view or or anything like that. If you have an electric vehicle in your garage too, I'm not going to talk to you about any of that stuff. I'm really going to talk to you about if it's a good investment for your large investment, your house. And I'm going to save this to the very end, if they add any monetary value to your home or not. So one of the things to think about is if you are planning to put solar panels on your house, if you live in an HOA, does the HOA allow for those solar panels to be installed onto your roof? I live in an HOA and they are allowed in our HOA, but you definitely want to make sure that you check the restrictions that is filed with the county or that you received while you were purchasing your house to see if they are allowed. If they are allowed, then you would need to put in a architectural modification request with the HOA so that they can get approved by the committee to be installed onto your roof. So if you're not in an HOA, obviously you don't need to worry about this, but you definitely want to make sure before you put these solar panels on that you are allowed to do it with your HOA and that you do get it approved with your HOA first before you put those things on. Another thing to think about from a real estate agent's point of view is your roof. If you have decided, yes, we do want to put panels on our roof, you have to have your roof inspected before you put the panels on them because you don't want these very heavy panels going on a roof that is borderline needing to be replaced. All right. Here in DFW, I've seen roofs needing to be replaced after about 10 years. And of course, that depends on area and stuff like that. But if you are here in this area and you have not had your roof replaced in quite a few years, you definitely have to get it checked out before you put any panels on there. But something that you may not think about is, let's say you do put those solar panels on and you get your roof replaced right before you put the panels on, and you're still in that house 10 years from now and the roof needs to be replaced. Well, guess what needs to happen? Those solar panels have to be removed from the roof and then put back on. So things to think about is that roofing company, they are not going to mess around with those panels and take them off. You're going to have to contact the company that installed the panels. You're going to have to arrange for them to remove the panels and then coordinate with the roofers to get your roof put on. And then you're going to have to coordinate when those panels are put back on the roof. Roofers are going to charge you one cost to replace that roof. And then you also are going to be charged some fees. There's going to be some costs associated with removing panels and then obviously not having them in operation for, a couple of days and then putting those panels back on. So it's just another cost that I want you to think about if you are thinking about putting panels on your house. When you are thinking about putting panels on, you have two options to purchase them. Either you can lease them on a monthly basis or you can just buy them outright. So I'm just going to use that number of $30,000, okay? I have no idea. Every roof is different. Let's just go with that number. So you can choose to lease that $30,000 over a certain period of time. And that's going to be a lien that is put against your house, just like your mortgage lien is if you did not pay cash for your house. Or you could just pay that 30 grand up front and you don't need to worry about it. If you don't have the $30,000 in cash just to pay for these panels and you do have a lease on the house, this is what you really need to think about. How long are you going to be in the house? If you are planning to sell your house and you do have an outstanding lease balance of the panels of, let's say, 20 grand on the house, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can choose to give that $20,000 debt to the potential buyer for your house, or you can choose to pay it all off at closing out of the net proceeds that you receive when you do sell your house. All right, so a couple things to think about. So let me talk to you about it from a home buyer who is shopping to purchase a house. You have solar panels on your house and you want $20,000 and you want that buyer to take on that $20,000 solar panel loan. But let's say the buyer is already shopping at the top of their price point. Your house is at the top of their price point, but they're qualified to afford it. I mean, they can afford it, but it's just top of the budget. Whatever that solar payment is, let's say it's $200 a month. Maybe they can't afford it, or maybe they just don't want to afford it. Maybe they do want the solar panels on their house, but that $20,000 is now considered to be their debt. And their debt to income ratio is very important when you're getting pre-approved for a loan. That debt to income ratio is actually too high, then they cannot qualify for the loan on your house. So even if they want it, they may not be qualified for it. Me personally, when I've worked with buyers that are looking at a house that has solar panels on it, if it's not already mentioned in the MLS, my first conversation to that agent is, these panels leased or own? How much is the monthly payment for the panels? And then if my clients like that house and they are okay with that number, then I have to go to the lender and say, all right, we've got a $20,000 added debt to the buyer's debt now if they take over this house. And are they now going to qualify for this home? Having leased panels on your house that you want the buyer to take over the remaining balance for could deter some buyers, because some buyers may say, nope, I don't want to pay for it. Some may want to pay for it, but can't afford to do it too. So it's definitely something to think about. When you go to sell your house, are you going to pay it all off at closing, or are you going to ask a buyer to pay for it? And those are some scenarios that you may run into with any future buyers. And this is the question you probably have been waiting for. Do solar panels add any monetary value to your home? And the answer is no, they don't. And I know what those solar panel salesmen are going to say to you when they knock on your door, because they've knocked on my door. They don't add any monetary value. Now, again, I'm talking monetary value. When your home goes to sell, can you sell your home for a higher amount than the house next door that does not have panels? And the answer is no. All right. When I list my houses, I like to be very, very, very strategic in where we price them. I run comps, and a part of my education is I like to sit in and talk with appraisers. Appraisers are the ones that work for the mortgage company that is lending those buyers the money. That appraiser is going to come into the house and they're going to put a monetary value on the house. They're going to look at all the upgrades, everything in the house, and then put a value on it. I have sat in on classes with appraisers, and the questions that always get asked is solar panels, pools, converted garages, things like that. And what the appraiser says is no, but solar panels might deduct value from the house if just about every single house in your neighborhood, if they do have solar panels and they sold for a certain dollar amount and your house does not have solar panels, then you may get a little deduction on your appraised value because you don't have the solar panels, and solar panels clearly are in high demand in this neighborhood. I mean, I drive through a ton of neighborhoods here in DFW. I have never seen a neighborhood where solar panels are in high demand. Do I see half a dozen houses as I drive down the street with panels? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But it's not like this high demand thing. We don't see a ton of solar panels on homes here in DFW. So if you think, oh, I'm going to put these $30,000 panels on my house, and okay, maybe it's not a dollar to dollar value. Maybe it'll be like a $10,000 added. No, it doesn't. It does not add any value to the home if they're leased or if they are paid off. I have heard that from appraisers. And I've also seen it on one of my clients' houses. They were purchasing a house, called the agent, asked them about those panels, and those panels were going to be paid off at closing. So my client's like, fine, great, I'll buy the house, as long as I didn't have to pay for it, they were buying the house. So I took a look at the appraisal and looked for it. And of course, the solar panels were noted, but there was no added value to those solar panels because there weren't any other panels in that neighborhood. And because, like I said, they just don't really add any value to your house. So if you are putting solar panels on your house, you're truly doing it to save on your energy cost for environmental purposes. So that's what I really want you to think about. And that's what I really want you to hear from this video is it's really not adding any real estate, monetary, financial benefit. It's not an upgrade to your house. I would love to know what you think about this video, what your opinion is in the comments below. Do you have panels? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to know. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week.